Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. In this video I go through the Squadron 42 monthly report, letting you know all of the Squadron 42 progress. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members who allow me to do this kind of content. If you do enjoy my videos and would like to support the channel even further from as little as $1 a month, all of the links are in the description below. So, kicking off with combat AI, there is ongoing work to the Vanduul and human combat. Vanduul focus was on two of the alien race's main combat tactics, which is melee and ranged combat. For melee, this utilises the special attack function, which allows AI to evaluate the environment to determine which, if any, unique attack is best. Dodging or performing a normal melee attack requires the AI to evaluate how much space is available and decide which animation is best suited. Currently the team are evaluating which melee attacks to include, with some using body attacks like a front kick or the Vanduul spear. When implemented, the behaviour will evaluate which combo of attacks is best for any given scenario, and the example they gave is, if they want the AI to move back to a specific distance from the player and then perform a lance attack, they could maybe create space doing a front kick. For ranged attacks, the team ensured the Vanduul can correctly shoot to the target from any position. Now this is going to be quite exciting, taking on a Vanduul in FPS combat for the first time. They sound like they'll have some pretty interesting abilities that I guess we won't be used to until we actually get into Squadron 42. Hopefully they will offer quite a challenge as well. So for realistic human combat, progress was made on accurate ammunition handling. As NPCs won't have infinite ammo, the behaviours need to account for resources and decide when to attempt to procure more ammo. If NPCs deplete their stocks and they don't have a melee weapon, or the specific sets of traits and skills to fight unarmed, then they may decide that surrender is the best option. The first pass was made, with the team preparing several animation options and embedding surrender in various behaviours, plus they added better transitions when exiting and staying in cover under certain conditions. It is going to be interesting to see the human AI evolve, and yeah, putting them under surrender, that would be quite interesting on how we handle that. Visual perception parameters were tweaked as well to allow AI to perceive and understand enemies from different distances. I am very intrigued to see how this AI will actually function in the final game. Obviously, Squadron will be a little different to the PU because it's multiplayer, but still, they sound like they're making good progress there. For general AI, last month the AI team fixed more standing on chairs issues, with a lot of them relating to the object container failing to restore characters to the right state, so when they load NPCs back into a scene as a player is travelling towards them. The long-term plan, they said, is to make extensive use of services to populate environments and simulate areas when players are not around, which means a lot of these issues will become irrelevant due to the systems being used in slightly different ways, which is really good to hear. I wonder if they're referring to the quantum system, but this will mean no NPCs standing on chairs, which will be nice. It's been a long while that we've had this issue. For social AI, the team focused on several NPC activities and states, including the engineer and off-duty. These will be shared between the PU and Squadron 42 and are being designed to work in any dynamic environment. Currently, they're creating the decision-making flow and identifying which usables should be created and how to expose their functionalities, which can be then iterated on for the behaviour implementation and usable data definition. An example of this is for the engineer. They will focus on repair, inspect and maintenance behaviours. They also continue to work on the mess hall scenarios detailed last month. The off-duty behaviour currently encapsulates a set of activities that NPCs can do when nothing specific is assigned to them. So I guess when you're walking around the Idris, for example, NPC crew that are off-duty will be going about doing sub-activities, and these leisure sub-activities include visiting their bunk, searching for arcade machines to play, taking a walk, and so on. The idea is to allow the state of an actor and their traits to drive what the NPC likes to do and dynamically use the environment to find what best fits their interest. I really love how this is shaping up. Having NPCs have traits and characteristics, that kind of means that no two NPCs will be the same, and they will have things that they technically enjoy and don't enjoy. which will obviously play into the PU to some degree when you're hiring NPC crewmates. Having maybe a games machine on board your ship could give them some morale boosts, I don't know, but interesting stuff. Specifically for Squadron 42, the social AI team continued on vendor behaviour and functionalities. They extended some of the vendor functionalities to use scooching animations to drive specific actor performances into the system vendor behaviour. And they also continued to develop the chow line sequence that enables NPCs to collect cutlery, plates and warm up food. So onto animation, the team worked on 0G movement previs, object push and pull, Vanduul combat behaviour and locomotion, AI reloading, the chow line, engineer wall panels, sinks and armories, plus a few more. They also began looking into mounted guns, a new takedown and a new Gemini sniper rifle. Some interesting animations here, especially the push and pull system, which we will hear more about pretty soon. Work also progressed on the female player character, which will be finished this month. So for character art, they continued updating major campaign characters. For example, Morrow went through a major revision that the team are excited for, and Valon's hair was further iterated on. I don't know who Valon is, but Morrow is the engineer, the chief engineer on board the Idris. Major progress was also made on alien characters. The Jean body is in the final stages and is almost ready for rigging, plus the team are currently rigging a highly complex Vanduul armour that they said will look incredible in motion. Can't wait to see that. And I also can't wait to see the Jean implemented into the game. Having a Jean pilot or crew member will be so much fun. For weapon art, they moved the Vanduul lance through the final art phase, meaning the weapon is nearing completion with a texture revamp underway. The cinematics team worked on the auto lighting rig. This is nearing completion and is now active in-game builds and almost in a release-ready state. This will improve how characters are lit in each scene. The team also spent part of the month prepping for a new shoot in motion capture, which will help with the occasional cinematic scenes that require minor adjustments. And finally, the animators polished and pushed scenes through their respective passes, including a set in the brig and the Bishop's war speech to the UEE Senate. So, on to engineering. Now, they have done a lot of physics optimizations for systems like signed distance fields and added the G-force calculations to all rigid entities. They've also done lots of ongoing work for the Gen 12 renderer and implemented a TSAA stage, amongst many other stages. There was also a lot of work on atmosphere, clouds, and unified array matching. This led to cloud data that is now properly interactable with the environment segment and injects into it. The team added support for the injection of spherical clouds into the atmospheric ray matcher, which significantly improves results, removes several artifacts, and converges much quicker. Tons of atmosphere work was done to improve the visuals of planetary atmosphere and coloration, brightness, and so on. They refined soft edge computation for spherical clouds to reduce aliasing and improve visible sun disks. This is now fully integrated into the wider atmospheric lighting system and impacts direct and indirect lighting. Clouds can now appear with consistent brightness in both regular atmospheres and via unified ray matching. They have also done work to support high atmospheres, and amongst other things, they have fixed the very prominent halo around the silhouette of a planet's dark side. The engineering team have also done work to allow them to add ozone layers to Earth-like planets, which will emphasize blue skies and enable correct shading during twilight. This also supports the physically plausible fine-tuning of atmospheres, and they now have solar irradiance throughout the evaluation of atmospheric lighting to give much improved sun radiance for points outside of planetary atmospheres, which enables twilight casting, atmospheric scattering, and allows the sun's angular radius to project objects on the planet penumbra regions. So some massive work on atmospheres and clouds there. I really hope that this means we will get cloud cover on planets pretty soon, and weather types as well. It does sound like they are creating something very special to work alongside this incredible planet generation tech. So hopefully we'll hear more soon, but it does sound like they've made major progress on clouds. Fingers crossed we get to see them in an upcoming video soon. Now moving on to features, the Squadron 42 feature team continued to support dynamic lighting. This will help to ensure the lights won't shine through geometry when it's not supposed to. Work on the walk and talk feature continued, refining the player and NPC speed match and polishing the display screen functionality and getting all levels working correctly with object container streaming, which is required for the seamless loading throughout the entire game. The actor team worked on new locomotion features, which allows the player to grab another movable prop and move it around. The example use case they have is a wheeled trolley. The prop is moved by the character applying force, so it reacts in a highly realistic manner and responds to factors like mass and the terrain. Now this is something I'm very excited for, which is actually coming in 3.12, so the patch at the end of this year. This is the object push and pull feature. And many of those trolleys that we see lying around on cargo decks will be how players can place items like weapons or components on them and then wheel them around to their ship or to other places of storage. Do keep an eye out for an upcoming video looking into the cargo decks, where I will talk further about this very thing and the future of cargo decks. The fact that it'll be based on characters applying force and not some system driving them is going to be fun and hopefully, as they say, realistic. Very excited to see this come to life. Now moving on to gameplay story, the team progressed with an important ship tour that is now scheduled for completion in October. No idea what this ship is. Could it have anything to do with CitizenCon? I doubt it, but it's probably going to be a big ship. Progress was also made on several large-scale scenes from chapters 11 to 13, where focus is on combat and traversal, and they've worked on an important walk and talk scene from chapter 5. So the graphics team split their time working on the new Gen 12 renderer, gameplay features and bug fixing. Gen 12 tasks included converting the game's post-effects manager, and the core Gen 12 infrastructure was further developed to be compatible with the configurable graphics pipeline, and the contrast shader buffers were further polished. I'm assuming this means for Squadron 42 in particular, we will be able to configure our own graphical settings maybe. Don't know how much of that will apply to the PU with it being a multiplayer environment, but we definitely need the option in Squadron. Time was also spent on the render to texture system, with the hookup to the texture streaming system now complete, meaning they can now runtime generate as many textures as they like and auto load balance the memory with the rest of the textures in game. Finally, the organic shader work was completed. For level design, the space dogfighting team continued with spacescaping and general points of interest, plus supported co-op AI and NPC behaviours. The narrative team continued with the Vanduul and their culture, with the audio team working out unique sounds of the alien race, consulting how to make their combat behaviours tie in further with their lore and physiology, and diving deeper into the backstories of some other specific Vanduul that players may encounter. It is going to be quite a momentous occasion when we meet the Vanduul for the first time, I reckon. But this level of depth that they go to in creating not just an alien race, but how they sound, how they move, all based on their lore, their physiology, how they're made up. It is going to be so interesting learning more about these characters and the aliens. The narrative team also continued to work on polishing the flow of the game as design continues to finalise traversal routes, including highlighting possible narrative dressing to reward players who take the time to explore levels thoroughly, along with scripting potential lines that might need to be recorded in the future. I will definitely explore everywhere that Squadron has to offer, but it sounds like they're trying to reward players who maybe find alternative routes into completing missions, maybe you deciding if you want to go stealth or guns blazing or other ways, but having the options will be very nice. The props team dressed assets for the Macedo station. A pass on medical props were completed. I'm assuming this is what the image we got to see on the email was referring to, not actual medical equipment that we're going to be using, but props for Squadron. Whether we get to use them in the end, I don't know. But support was also given to social AI on the Chowline and Master at Arms character. The Master at Arms character is that bloke that we saw handing out weapons in the vertical slice. QA spent time ensuring that scenes and levels were at the expected cinematics quality. Tech Animation spent time training new members and working to complete the in-house facial rig and tool suite to enable the continued creation of new heads. This precedes the wider push to overhaul the entire system creation pipeline with the view to future-proof it for the next few years. Also, I will mention that there were other sections or teams where they're training new members, and it does sound like quite a lot of new members are joining the team, which is always good. One of the biggest issues with Star Citizen and Squadron, I guess, is finding the right people for the right job. It sounds like they are actually finding them now, which is excellent news because it means more work can get done. Finally, Visual Effects resumed their investigations into the destruction pipeline, mostly in prep for October work, which features a couple of key destruction sequences. Now, I'm assuming this is relating to Squadron 42. I wouldn't want to speculate any further on things like destructible space stations or pirate groups coming through from Pyro at all, because that would just be very irresponsible. Anyway, that is the end of the monthly report. Some great progress made there, especially on the Vanduul and the AI. I'm very excited to see how the AI, both human and alien, will come to life and see what is achievable with this system. Also, the object push and pull system, for some reason, is something I'm very, very excited for. It'll be vital, really, for moving forwards on the physicalized cargo and components when we do get that. Hopefully that is sometime this year, and I just can't wait to see how that functions. Some great progress made on atmospheres and clouds. As I say, hopefully we get to see an update on this very soon, or even implementation into the planets that we currently have. That would be incredible. But that is the Squadron 42 monthly report. I will be working on the PU report right away, so do expect to see that here on my YouTube channel. And be sure to subscribe if that interests you. Plus, tick that notification bell if you want to be notified when my videos go live. If you don't mind, hit that like button as well. It really helps the channel out. And come and hang out over on twitch.tv/supermacbrothers where we will be talking further about all of the work that's been going on behind the scenes. Thank you again to my patrons and channel members. Cannot do this without you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.